I 29F, and for the past 7 years, my life with Harry has been wonderful. We've built a good life together, and I couldn't ask for a better partner. But if there's one dark spot in our relationship, it's his sister, Qley. From the moment I met her, I thought she was lovely. She was welcoming and friendly, and I really believed we'd get along. Over time, that perception shifted, and not in a small way. Qley turned out to be manipulative, controlling, and outright toxic. At first, I thought maybe it was just her personality, and I tried my best to stay on her good side. That wasn't easy because she seemed to go out of her way to create problems. Harry had dated one of her friends when he was younger, and when they broke up, she made it her mission to involve herself in his relationships. She even tried to set him up with another friend of hers, but Harry wasn't interested. When he told her to stop pushing him into relationships, she ran to their parents crying about how he wasn't listening to her. When Harry and I started dating, she wasn't outright rude to me, but she wasn't warm either. She'd casually bring up his exes in front of me, always framing it like she was reminiscing about the past. It was strange how often she'd mention them. Once, she even invited one of his exes to a family dinner without telling anyone, claiming she had bumped into her earlier that day. It was awkward, but Harry shut it down. He told her to stop making things uncomfortable, but instead of apologizing, she accused me of being jealous and insecure. That's how it always went with her. If anyone called her out, she'd turn it around and make it seem like they were the problem. It started to wear me down, but Harry always had my back. Still, it became clear she wasn't going to stop. She'd do things like check my Instagram stories the moment I posted them, always the first viewer, even though she didn't follow me. She'd tell Harry I was posting inappropriate pictures if a man left a comment. Harry and I would laugh about it, but it was exhausting. It felt like she was always watching, always waiting to find something to criticize. When Harry and I decided to live together, Qley tried to convince him to break up with me. She said I wasn't good enough for him and that she could introduce him to someone better. That one really hurt because I had been nothing but polite to her, even when she was being difficult. When we got engaged, things escalated. At our engagement party, she barely said a word, and then she stormed out, claiming she was upset that we hadn't told her first. Later, she messaged me saying I better take care of her brother because she was the most important woman in his life and always would be. I didn't respond. It felt pointless. She started ignoring me completely after that. It was like I didn't exist unless she was criticizing something I was doing for the wedding. If I made a decision, she had something to say about it. Once, she overheard me discussing centerpieces with Harry's mom, and she jumped in to mock my choices, saying they were cheap and tasteless. That was the last straw. I told her she wasn't invited to the wedding. She acted shocked, as if I was being unreasonable, and even cried to Harry, saying I had humiliated her. Harry told her he supported me, and that she wouldn't be welcome unless she apologized. She did send an apology, but it was obvious she didn't mean it. I let her come to the wedding anyway, not because I wanted her there, but because I didn't want her to have another reason to badmouth us. On the day of the wedding, she showed up in a black floor-length gown with a veil. She looked like she was at a funeral, and throughout the reception, she kept telling people how sad she was to be losing her brother to another woman. Harry finally asked her to tone it down, and she told him I was controlling and overbearing. His parents stepped in and told her to leave, but the damage was done. After the wedding, I decided to avoid Qley as much as possible. When our son Nate was born, I made it clear she wasn't allowed near him. She tried to argue, but Harry's parents backed me up. For a while, we kept her out of our lives entirely. 2 years later, she had a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie. As much as I disliked her, I felt terrible for her loss. Harry and I decided to let her back into our lives, thinking maybe she had changed. At first, she seemed different. She was kind to Nate, and she didn't start any drama. But it didn't take long for her true colors to show again. She constantly complained about how unfair her life was, blaming everyone else for her problems. She never admitted fault or took responsibility for anything. If someone called her out, she'd play the victim and make it seem like she was being attacked. When she got married to Jamie, we weren't even invited. She claimed it was because she thought I'd caused trouble, which made no sense since I'd never done anything to her. When Harry and I confronted her, She admitted she was still upset about how I reacted at our wedding. She said she was afraid I'd wear something inappropriate to get back at her. It was ridiculous. Harry told her we wouldn't be attending or helping pay for the wedding. She tried to backtrack and apologize, but it was clear she hadn't changed. After her wedding, things got worse. She started spending more time with us, venting about her marriage. She blamed Jamie for their struggles to have kids and acted like she had no part in their problems. She also became overly interested in my life, asking strange questions about my routines. For example, she noticed I often took a change of clothes with me to the gym, and she made a big deal out of it, asking why I couldn't just shower at home. It felt invasive, but I brushed it off. One day, during a family lunch, Harry's mom mentioned a friend of hers who had left her husband and taken half his assets after catching him cheating. Qley immediately asked if Harry and I had signed a prenup before getting married. Her tone was smug, and she didn't even acknowledge me when she asked. Harry told her we hadn't because we both made good money and trusted each other. She snorted and said that was naive because cheaters were everywhere. Then she looked at me and asked if Nate was really Harry's son. That was it for Harry. He lost his temper in a way I'd never seen before. He told her she had no right to comment on our marriage or our child. He said she didn't deserve to be a mother and that it was better her child was in heaven than being raised by someone like her. She started crying, but no one comforted her. Harry's parents looked horrified, and Jamie stayed silent. After that, we cut her out completely. A year passed, and life without Qley's interference was peaceful. Then, 2 months ago, I found out I was pregnant again. It was a surprise, but Harry and I were thrilled. We decided to announce the news at Harry's birthday party, which his parents were hosting. They had planned a big celebration in their backyard and invited all of our close friends and family. Somehow, Qley found out and showed up uninvited. When I saw her, I froze. I hadn't seen her in over a year, and I didn't want her there. Harry and I spoke privately, and he told me he'd ask her to leave if I wanted, but I decided against it. I didn't want to cause a scene at his birthday party. Qley came up to us, all smiles, acting like nothing had happened. She apologized to Harry and me, claiming she had been going to therapy and realized how wrong she had been. I nodded and let it go, even though I didn't believe her. The party went on, and Qley seemed unusually cheerful. When it was time for Harry to give a speech, he spoke about how grateful he was for another year and how much he loved me. Afterward, we announced the pregnancy. Everyone was ecstatic. My mother cried, Harry's parents hugged us, and our friends cheered. Qley, on the other hand, looked like she'd been slapped. She turned away and didn't say anything, but I tried not to think about it. I assumed she was upset because she'd struggled to conceive. Later, Qley came over with a plate of food and handed it to me. She smiled and said she wanted to make amends and personally serve me. It felt odd, but I didn't want to cause trouble, so I accepted the plate. When I looked down, I noticed there were shrimp on it. I'm severely allergic to shrimp, and Qley knew that. My stomach dropped, but I stayed calm. I got up to get another plate of food, leaving the one she'd given me on the table. As I walked away, Jamie approached me. He congratulated me on the pregnancy and noticed I wasn't eating. I told him about the shrimp and how Qley must have made a mistake. He shrugged, said he liked shrimp, and took the plate for himself. I didn't think much of it at the time. Not 5 minutes later, Jamie started coughing and clutching his throat. Everyone froze as he staggered and collapsed. People rushed to help him, and someone called an ambulance. Qley was hysterical, screaming and crying, but not making much sense. When she realized Jamie had eaten my plate, her face went pale. She asked me if I'd given it to him, and I nodded, still in shock. The paramedics arrived and took Jamie to the hospital, but the chaos didn't end there. After Jamie was taken to the hospital, everyone was left standing around, confused and shaken. Harry's parents were trying to calm Qley down, but she kept sobbing and muttering about the plate. People started whispering, trying to figure out what had happened. It wasn't until later that we learned Jamie had been poisoned. The doctors couldn't immediately identify what substance had caused his reaction, but they confirmed it wasn't food allergies or natural contamination. The police were called to investigate, and they started questioning everyone. That's when the reality of the situation hit me. The plate Jamie had eaten from was the one Qley had given to me. If I hadn't noticed the shrimp, I might have been the one in the hospital. The thought made me sick to my stomach, and I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I told Harry, his parents, and the police everything. How Qley had handed me the plate and how I had given it to Jamie. Harry's parents were horrified. His mom suggested we check the security cameras they had installed around the house. The footage confirmed my story. It showed Qley bringing the plate to me and later Jamie taking it. The police took the footage as evidence, and it became clear that Qley had deliberately tampered with the food. They questioned her, and under pressure, she admitted to mixing a small amount of rat poison into the dish. Her reasoning was sickening. She claimed she hadn't intended to seriously harm me, only to make me sick enough to miss the party. She said she was angry because Harry and I had stolen her moment by announcing our pregnancy at the party, which she had planned to use to reveal her own pregnancy. She was furious that we had outshined her, and in her twisted logic, she thought this was a way to get back at me. The fact that Jamie had ended up eating the food instead of me was just bad luck on her part. Qley was arrested and charged with multiple offenses, including reckless endangerment and food tampering. Jamie, who had recovered by then, decided to press charges against her. He also filed for divorce, saying he couldn't stay married to someone who would do something so vile. Qley begged him for forgiveness, even trying to use her pregnancy as leverage, but he refused to budge. Harry and I were in shock. For years, we had dealt with Qley's manipulative behavior, but this was on a completely different level. It was clear that she was dangerous, not just to me but to anyone who got in her way. We cut all ties with her, and Harry's parents did the same. They were heartbroken but agreed that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. Months later, Qley was sentenced to prison. She admitted in court that she had been jealous of me from the beginning. She resented how much Harry loved me and felt that I had taken her place as the most important person in his life. Her actions at the party were the culmination of years of pent-up bitterness and envy. The judge didn't buy her excuses and handed down a significant sentence. As for Jamie, he's doing well now. He finalized the divorce and has been slowly rebuilding his life. He and Harry remain close, and we've made an effort to include him in family events. He told me he doesn't blame me for what happened and even thanked me for being honest about the plate. Harry and I welcomed our daughter a few months ago, and our family feels complete. Nate loves being a big brother and is always by her side, watching over her. We've worked hard to move on from everything that happened, but the scars are still there. I've been in therapy to deal with the anxiety and fear that Qley's actions caused. It's been a long road, but with Harry's support and the love of our family, I'm finally starting to feel at peace. We don't talk about Qley much anymore. She's still in prison, and as far as I'm concerned, she'll stay out of our lives forever. For the first time in years, I feel safe,